Welcome to Master Your Money and Mindset, the podcast where financial success meets personal growth. I'm your host, Elizabeth Heiza, Chief Marketing Officer at the Barnum Financial Group, and I want to thank you for listening. On Master Your Money and Mindset, we dive into the powerful connection between your mindset and your financial well-being. So the fact that you're here now and listening means that you are already one step ahead of the game and that you're taking control of both your finances and your mindset. Today, we're going to be talking about two key financial habits, saving money and keeping that money. So saving the money you make and then building habits of what to do with that money after you built up that savings. If you'd ever have wondered how you could stop living paycheck to paycheck, which is a very common question we get from clients very often at Barnum, is people either want to budget better, or lots of times people come to us saying, I know I need to invest, or I know I need to make a change, but I just have no excess money left at the end of the month to do so. So if you've ever wondered how you can make your money work a little bit better for you, this episode is going to be perfect because we are going to talk about practical saving strategies. There's going to be nothing groundbreaking here, but hopefully some stuff may be positioned a little bit differently to help motivate you to start saving. On this episode, we are covering practical saving strategies, common pitfalls, and smart ways to grow your wealth. So let's dive in. As we are going through this episode and as you are thinking of what strategies you are going to implement, I want you to have this phrase at the top of your mind. This is one of my all-time favorite financial phrases, and it's not mine. I wish it was. This is a direct quote from Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is a phenomenal money book, one of the best out there if you're ever interested. But in his book, Robert Kiyosaki said, "It's not how much you make, but how much you keep." So very often there are people who make less money, but who end up having more wealth because they kept more of what they made. Okay, so obviously, people focus so much on what they're bringing in and on what their income is, but the more you bring in, most times, the more you spend. So what we want to talk about today is how to keep what you are making while still living a lifestyle that you want to live. All right, so let's start with the power of saving. Let's start with why saving is so crucial. No matter how much you make, saving still, it's what you save that allows you to build financial security. This way, with savings, you can handle emergencies, you could create different opportunities for yourself. But the real question is, how do you actually start saving? Especially because everybody always starts with, I don't have anything to save. I don't have any money. So let's just run through a few suggestions of how you can maybe find a few bucks. First of all, take a look at your income and apply the 50-30-20 rule. If you've never heard of that before, what that means is you allocate 50% of your income to needs, living expenses, 30% of your income to wants, and 20% of your income to savings and investments. So take your income, do those percentages, and see what the numbers come out to be. So if you make 80 grand in a year, what that means is you should allocate $40,000 for your living expenses, your rent, your mortgage, your car, food. You should allocate $24,000 to your wants, vacations, clothing budget. If you want that puppy you've always wanted, if you go out to eat a lot, Starbucks, Target runs, right? Those are all your wants. But you should also be allocating at least $16,000 to savings and investments. So that's a really great formula just to kind of kickstart your thinking on how much should you be saving if you have no idea. Okay. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. So first, plug your numbers in there and see what that looks like to you. If that's what your numbers should look like, then pin that against your actual. The next practical savings tip is, and this is again, nothing groundbreaking, but it never fails, is to pay yourself first. So treat your savings like a bill. Set up an automatic transfer to a savings account as soon as you get paid, and then you'll never miss that money. I started doing this when I first started getting a paycheck. And at that time, I couldn't afford much. So I think it was $10 or $20 a paycheck, but I would just have that money go into another bank account. And then slowly over the years, it's something that I honestly forgot about over time, because once the money's gone, you tend not to miss it. But then over time, when I would see that account grow, then I would start to increase that money. And I'm like, all right, I could do 10 and I really don't feel like there's too much financial pressure on me. So let me now move that to 20. Then in a couple months or in a couple years, let me move it to 50, and then so on and so forth. And before you know it, you've built a really, really great savings habit that wasn't really invasive to your overall spending. Okay. The third practical habit, or the practical way to save, again, this is like the unsexiest of all of them because everyone hates this one, but it truly is to just create a budget, to track your income and expenses, to identify areas where you could cut. And this is the worst. Nobody likes writing out a budget, being put on a budget, having to adhere to a budget, but don't think of it as an inhibitor. Don't think of a budget as something that stops you from moving forward. Think of a budget that truly just keeps you on track and acts as a good check-in. Now, in my world, or in today's world, budgeting I think is really hard because everything's digital. And if you're like me, I love using credit cards that give me points so I could try to maximize those. So I'm spending in a lot of different places. So to create a budget to find out where all my money is going can sometimes be a little tedious, but there are beautiful and effective financial aggregation tools available, financial apps that will take all of your spending methods and they aggregate them under one tool. You can categorize your expenses so you could very, very easily see what you're spending on a daily or hourly basis, categorized into groups for easy organization. So doing that, you need to know where your money is going. You need to know where you could cut before you could start saving money. I'm a huge fan when it comes to budgeting of the envelope method. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but this is a really old school method of saving where literally you would take different envelopes, you would label on the outside of the envelope what you were trying to save for, whether it was for Christmas, for vacation, for some sort of splurge gift. And every week you would squirrel away money into the envelope until you had enough for what you wanted to buy. So the more modern envelope method is just to create different accounts, which is what I do. I just have different accounts for different things that I'm saving for. And those are all budgeted in accordingly. So I know exactly where every dollar is going. And that's the whole point of the budget, is to make sure that every dollar you bring in is working for you and that you are not mindlessly spending or unconsciously wasting money just because you didn't know where your money was going. That's the true use of a budget, is to use it as a tool that can help you build wealth, not a tool that stops you from building wealth. Okay. And the fourth piece that I think, once we find these expenses, everyone loves doing this, but it's cutting out all those unnecessary expenses. So asking yourself, do you really need that cup of coffee? Do you really need to go out to lunch today? Do you really need another, subscription, entertainment subscription? All those small expenses can add up really, really fast. So doing a savings audit of some sort, or doing a financial audit of some sort regularly, whether it's quarterly or a couple times a year, will be really, really helpful. The financial aggregation tool that I have has what they refer to as a watch list. So in my world, I have 3 children who are all middle school age, who are all heavily involved in sports and activities. That's kind of the phase of life I'm in. So we're constantly driving around and eating on the go. So the 2 biggest expenses for me that I try to watch are Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. Those are ones that creep up very easily on me, and going out to eat. Just because from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., we are typically in the car a lot. So going out to eat is much easier than trying to pack dinner or stop home and grab dinner. But at the end of the month, I'm always really annoyed at how much money I spent in both coffee and donuts and drinks and going out to eat. So I have those 2 categories on what's called a watch list. So throughout the month, I am able to pull up that watch list and track how much I've spent in those two categories so I can keep that expense down and reallocate that money someplace else. So taking a look at your expenses from that perspective will help you find at least a couple dollars a month that you could put into a savings account. But even setting aside just a small percentage of your income consistently, you could be surprised how quickly your savings will grow. And that's what we will move into now, which is once you do save those few bucks, whether it is $5, $10, $20, $100, a couple $100 a month or a year, now what do you do with it? For this segment, I cannot stress enough the need to work with a financial advisor. Do not think that any amount is too small. Putting your money in the right place from the beginning is so important. And there's no harm with consulting a financial advisor to say, hey, where am I best to grow this money? How am I best to accumulate this level of wealth? Because once you start saving today, even if it's, like I said, just $100 a month, you know that money is going to grow. And nobody ever regrets saving. We talk about this all the time. If you could find a couple bucks a month, if you could sacrifice that cup of coffee, or if you could sacrifice going out to dinner, you're not going to regret that you put that money towards an investment vehicle of some sort. That never, ever happens in our world. So you never have to worry about that type of regret. But now that you built up savings, keeping all of your money into a savings account might feel safe and easy, but it's not the best long-term strategy. So here are some ideas on how to make your money work for you. But again, please speak with a financial professional, which I am definitely not. So please consult someone who has much more experience in this realm. But here are some quick ideas. First, once you save some money, the first thing you should do is start to build an emergency fund. Okay, aim for 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a separate savings account to cover the unexpected cost. It could be an unexpected health insurance bill or a medical bill. It can be an unexpected house repair, car repair. You may need to help a friend unexpectedly. Whatever it is, you should have an emergency fund to handle those unexpected costs so that they don't eat into your normal budget. COVID was a really great example on why we all need an emergency fund. Nobody thought COVID would be what it was, but a lot of people were caught off guard with how much more money you had to spend to get groceries, or how we had to stock up at Costco. So our grocery bills were a little bit higher up front because we weren't going to the grocery store very often, or you couldn't go to 3 or 4 different grocery stores to find the best deal. You had to kind of get everything at once. So having an emergency fund, so anything that happens does not throw your entire budget off track. So aim for 3 to 6 months, but anything is better than nothing. Getting at least $500 to $1,000 in an account is a really wonderful start. So that's definitely the first thing you should do with some savings. The second thing you should do is start to pay off that high interest debt. So if you have a credit card, paying it off is one of the best investments you can make, so you're not paying more over time due to the interest. So start your emergency fund, then get to work on paying off those credit cards. But once you get through those two things, then a common strategy you can use to save your wealth is to invest in, obviously, the markets. So to get started, consider something like low-cost index funds or EFTs to grow your wealth. But anything after that, you really should be talking to a financial advisor about what investment strategy would work for you and would benefit your long-term financial plan. In addition to investing in the stock market, definitely invest in your retirement accounts if you have them. So if your employer offers a 401k, definitely take advantage of it, especially if there's a company match. You can also open an IRA for any other additional savings. In addition to that, there are high yield savings accounts. So you can keep your emergency fund in a high yield savings account to earn some extra interest while keeping it accessible. So a high yield savings account is just going to give you a little bit more of an advantage to a regular savings account, but essentially they're the same thing. Once you take all of these steps to save your money, then you could consider real estate or any type of side investments. So investing in property or a side business, or you're looking to make an investment that will provide you additional income streams. All of those are really, really great ideas, but you should have the first 4 done before you move on to something like that. The key is to balance safety and growth. So ensuring that you have enough accessible cash while building long-term wealth. So start your emergency fund, pay off that high interest debt. Think of whether you need to invest in stocks or you want to invest in your retirement accounts. If you want, open up that high yield savings account and then consider any type of investment. But saving money is only the first step. Knowing how to use that money wisely is what is going to create that financial freedom. So start by setting aside just a portion of your income. Build the emergency fund, pay off debt, and explore investment options that can align with your goals. And remember, financial success isn't about how much you make, but how well you manage what you have. So it's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. So start today. Even if it's just a small amount, it's going to add up quickly and you will never regret saving money. That's it for today's episode of Master Your Money and Mindset. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share with a friend who might need some financial motivation. Until next time, stay smart with your money and your mindset. Thank you for listening to Master Your Money and Mindset. You can find these episodes on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you heard. You can follow Barnum Financial Group on LinkedIn and Instagram. Thanks so much.
All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions their respective parent companies or affiliates or the companies with which the program participants are affiliated. Investments or strategies mentioned in this program may not be suitable for you, and you should make your own independent decision regarding them. This material does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. You should strongly consider seeking advice from your own investment advisor. Securities and investment advisory services offered through qualified registered representatives of MML Investor Services, LLC. Member SIPC, 6 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484, telephone number 203-513-6000.